Hello, good evening students. Today I am going to discuss our continued part of emergence of psychology, where in the previous class I discussed about the founders of psychology, like landmark or pioneers of area, like how it is developed from historical perspective. Today I am going to discuss Gustav Pechner. We are all aware of that Pechner law. I'm not going to discuss about detail about what is the Pechner law, because we will go for when we are discussing sensation and perception. We will discuss later on as a part of Pechner theory or Pechner law, or sensation and perception, or you can say the psychophysics. Okay, so founder of psychophysics is also considered as Pechner, considered as the psychophysics. You can go through little bit on psychophysics. You came to know Pechner because he was a pioneer on the field. Okay, so and because you know that Pechner is very important, there are chances to ask questions about his law or his theory. That there is one way. So little bit you need to go to discuss. As you can study about, there is any Google work or anything, or you can wait for my videos also. I'm going to start in upcoming videos related to that perception. So the second important psychologist, Charles Darwin, he talks about continuity of species. Like that we are aware of that, somewhere around he heard about his famous book Origin of Species, and he talks about continuity of species. Like his basic principle is fittest of the survival. Okay, the fittest of the survival like means the person only can survive who is the fit one. He explains that how human beings survival in historical perspective, what is the chances of survival. So he talks about breeding and all that things, when generally we discuss in biological basis of behavior or nature versus nurture. So we will go in detail about what is his genetical theory and how he explains the continuity of species. So what is the reasons for that? So I'm not going to discuss in detail. I'm just giving you have to aware of these things. So in the first emergence of psychology, the examiner want to know that you are thoroughly understand history of psychology. So that is a very important. So you cannot just neglect him, just whatever you know. Little bit you need to go and detail about what Charles Darwin thought about that, all that thing. So what is my objective is that you should not neglect. Just do some Google work or any books or any related to, just make notes or something like that. So be aware of that. That is what my point. And William Wundt, as you know that he is a founder of experimental psychology. We call it because he has done a lot of work on experimental related to sensation and perception, and also he formed the first laboratory in Germany. Basically, he was belonged to Germany, and he framed the laboratory, and which is landmark again in 1879 is a landmark in historical history of psychology, or even history of psychological testing, you can say. So this is one you have to know about William Wundt. And also he has done a lot of work on sensation and perception and all that stuff. We will discuss later on when we will discuss about some approaches. Okay, so structuralism and functionalism. So and the third one is William James, as already discussed in our previous class. So it is just I'm going to timeline. Just I'm giving a timeline here, but I'm not giving more onto timeline, as most of them are in the AD and Aristotle and Plato. These are before Christ and after Christ. So I'm not going to more focus on timeline until it's come to modern level. So that is the reasons I put 1879 is the very important landmark. Questions are not more into a chronological events. Very few questions are related to chronological event. But more into the person who's more into person and his event, or what he has contributed. He had contributed to that. So that is what important here. That's what I'm giving a little bit timeline in the sequence order, not in the chronological order. Okay, and even Ivan Pavlov, you know that everyone aware of that about classical conditioning principle. Pavlov was basically a doctor, and he was researching in physiological process, how dog, there is a principle called classical conditioning formation, like how acquisition take place and all that experiment you are all studied. So I'm not going to explain, but the thing is that there is a classical conditioning occurs when that meat powder, when dogs saw the listen the bell and the meat powder served, and that what happens to dog and all that stuff, so it is basically a very important landmark in classical understanding the classical conditioning. So in the classical conditioning, based on classical conditioning, we also framed a number of therapy, like we will discuss in the therapeutic approach. That's very important. So here, that is because of that he also very famous on that things, and then we will also talk about operant conditioning. But classical conditioning is a very landmark in the context that it has also become landmark, and it gives many answer to development of psychology or therapeutic approaches. So that's what we are must aware of that, the principle of classical conditioning. So that Hermann Ebbinghaus, he was also very famous psychologist because of his work on memory and forgetting. He took experiment himself, and he has done a lot of work on memory and forgetting, and his basic contribution, if I want to inform you, that is a forgative curve. He framed a forgative curve, like how our memory, how we recollect the informations. So there is a forgetting curve. I'm not going to discuss about, because we will discuss it on when we discuss the memory and forgetting. So just you want to know that what is his contribution. So forgetting curve, it's basically a curve which middle where most of the things are. There is a rules, because the first and middle and the third aspect are there. So how we remember the things actually, whether it is a middle part or whether it is the initial part. So we will totally called as a learning curve. And a spacing effect is also there. It is also very important concept in memory and recollection or rehearsal. So it is also very important contribution to given by Hermann Ebbinghaus. So this is what I just for my video. This basically timeline is basically for beginners. So those some of them may have aware of these things, like those who are already preparing. But my point is that it is both helpful for you, those who are already prepared or already know something. It is become a revision for them to look into that. So you should not neglect these people, because questions frame from this. And also those who are beginners, and it's very important to look into this historical events. So like field of suppose William James, I just forget about explaining the William James because I already explained like functionalism. So once you know William James, it's better to know about his work as a functionalism. What is functionalism? So basic principles of functionalism. So it basically they focus on how mind functions, not how mind structures, because that is related to structuralism. So based on this principle or based on this concept, questions will rise. So be clarity about this concept, then you can get clarity about your concept. So in upcoming videos, one or two videos, I'm going to introduce other important psychologists or timeline, which are again important, like one or two videos maybe. After that, I'm going to start social psychology, and please watch my videos, share and subscribe, so that it can also helpful for your friends, and also you. Whenever I make video, it will reach you easily, and you can also follow my playlist, which you can contact with my present video to our previous classes. So that will be more beneficial, and that's what my today class, and thank you for all of you.